he killed. Then he wrote letters about it. Between 1968 and 1974, Northern California lived in fear. Not the kind of fear that disappears with daylight, but a fear that stayed. A fear that followed people home and waited quietly in the dark. This fear was not created by a random criminal. It was shaped by someone who wanted to be remembered. Someone who didn't just want to kill, but wanted control. He gave himself a name. He called himself the Zodiac Killer. The first attacks seemed random at first. Young couples sitting in parked cars late at night. Quiet roads. Isolated places. Moments that felt safe until they suddenly weren't. There was no robbery, no personal connection, no warning. Just sudden, calculated violence. When police arrived, there were almost no clues, no clear suspect, no explanation that made sense. At first, investigators believed the crimes were unrelated, but similarities began to appear. Then everything changed in 1969, when newspapers across California received handwritten letters. These were not ordinary messages. They were filled with strange symbols, coded language, and direct threats. The writer claimed responsibility for the murders and demanded his letters be published. If the newspapers refused, he promised more people would die. The public was terrified. The media complied, and the Zodiac watched closely. Some of the ciphers were eventually cracked by amateur codebreakers. Others remain unsolved to this day. In one decoded message, Zodiac claimed he was collecting slaves for the afterlife, a statement that shocked the entire nation. Whether those words came from delusion or manipulation remains unknown. What was clear was that the Zodiac wanted attention. He wanted power. He wanted to control the narrative. He didn't hide in silence. He called police stations directly, calmly, almost casually. He reported his own crimes as if they were ordinary events, knowing he could not be caught. Each call and letter pushed investigators further behind. Suspects appeared and disappeared. Evidence was lost. Witnesses contradicted each other. Technology was limited, and mistakes were made. Slowly, the case began to collapse under its own weight. Then, without warning, the letters stopped. The phone calls ended, and the Zodiac vanished. Some believe he died. Others believe he simply walked away, blending back into society, living a normal life while carrying a terrifying secret. To this day, the Zodiac Killer has never been identified. No arrest, no trial, no confession, only questions. How many victims were there really? How close did police come to catching him? Other ciphers remain unsolved even today. Experts have studied them for decades without success. This only added to the mystery. Was Zodiac extremely intelligent? Or was he intentionally creating chaos? Either way, the uncertainty worked in his favor. Fear grew with every unanswered question. Each message created more pressure. Leads came in by the hundreds. Suspects were investigated, interrogated, and released. Some seemed promising. Others fell apart immediately. Evidence was mishandled. Witness statements conflicted. Technology at the time offered little help. Mistakes were made. Critical moments were missed. And slowly, the investigation began to weaken. Zodiac seemed to sense this. His messages became less frequent. His presence faded. And then, suddenly, the letters stopped completely. No final message. No explanation, no goodbye. The Zodiac Killer simply disappeared. Some believed he had died. Others believed he was arrested for unrelated crimes. But many feared something worse, that he walked away freely. The idea that Zodiac blended back into society is the most disturbing possibility. That he lived a normal life, had a job, a family, neighbors, and that no one ever suspected the truth hiding behind an ordinary face. Over the years, the case was reopened many times. New technology brought new hope. DNA testing, modern profiling, digital analysis of old evidence. But each time, the results were the same. No confirmation, no identity, no arrest. Officially, Zodiac is linked to 5 murders. Unofficially, many believe the number is higher. Some cases share similarities that cannot be ignored. But without proof, those victims remain questions rather than answers. The Zodiac Killer became more than a criminal. He became a symbol of failure, of fear, of the limits of justice. His story spread across books, documentaries, and films. Yet the truth stayed hidden. What makes this case unforgettable is not the violence itself. It's the silence that followed. No confession, no explanation. Just a shadow that faded into history without ever being understood. Even today, investigators and researchers continue searching, hoping for one final breakthrough. One piece of evidence that changes everything. But with each passing year, the chances grow smaller. Perhaps the most terrifying truth is this: some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Some answers disappear forever, leaving only speculation, fear, and unanswered questions behind. And so, decades later, the Zodiac Killer remains unknown. A name without a face, a crime without a conclusion. A reminder that sometimes evil does not end with justice. Sometimes it simply vanishes.